Well, the game of football has taught me so many things, man. Now, think about the huddle we have right now, right? I tell people this all the time. There's a reason why they call it a huddle. People have been huddling all their lives, trying to find ways to enhance each other's lives. The great teams do that all the time. The great teams do that. The better the huddle, the better the team. And so it's simple, man, how if you huddle for all the right reasons, we wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have in our society. But as we all know, there's always a moment when somebody doesn't belong in the huddle. And yet we have to continue to move on. We got to continue to play. So the game of life, man, is always starting with the huddle. And for me, I'm lucky enough to know that, by the graces of God, man, it's been a nice huddle. It's been a nice huddle. And if I just keep making sure that he's in front of me, I'm gonna be all right.
Welcome to another edition of Talking Ball with the Czar. I'm Emory Hunt, the Czar of the Playbook, here on the campus of Wagner College with head football coach Jason Houghtaling. Coach, I appreciate you taking time sitting with me today. And I guess the question I want to ask, Coach, is you had a unique background, interesting background to get to where you are today as a head football coach. And I guess the question I want to ask is, having your playing career cut short, did that sort of reignite the passion that you had for football to really put you on the track to get into coaching?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for coming in and allowing us to do this here today. Just a fun deal for Wagner and for me and for everyone, so we appreciate you being here. As far as the end of my career goes, yeah, I think so. It's almost like I had fought so hard for so long to play college football, and then all of a sudden to go through the injuries and to have it cut short. I think right there at that moment it was a goal of mine to get back to college football in the best way possible, which was coaching. And at that point it was, hey, do whatever you have to do to become a college head football coach, head football coach at the college level. And that was it was so depressing to not succeed at the college level as a player. I think it definitely lit a fire to make sure I succeeded as a college football coach. I think that's an accurate statement.
Which is interesting because we both know as players, you tend to think in terms of you're going to decide when the game ends for you, and to have it cut short via injury, it does put you back a little bit and makes you figure out what's going on. Is that a message that you try to teach your players now as you deal with them each and every day?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. The only day that's guaranteed is the one you're at right now. You never know what the future holds, and you want to be the best version of yourself possible each and every day. And we put it up on Tuesdays. Every week we go through it. We have a PowerPoint on the field at Tuesday morning's practice, and it always ends on focus on today, focus on today, focus on today, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It was a lot of fun at Lafayette College that first year, and throughout camp things were going great, and I had visions of having a great 4-year career and all that, and the next thing you know, it happened in a JV game. It didn't even reach the varsity field. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen, and I think the guys hear that from us all a lot. They hear it from the whole staff, not just myself. That's something that focus on today, focus on today, focus on today. It's something that's entrenched in our program.
Now, what is it would you say you love most about the game?
The game of football, I think it's so much more than a game. Obviously, the competition. That's something that as you grow up being an athlete and you're competing every day of your life, and it's almost like a drug. You need it. And when I got hurt, that was probably the thing that I missed the most. And whatever, you play golf or you do whatever, you try and find ways to compete. But, nothing's like being on the football field. So the competition is number one, and being with the guys, the camaraderie. There's nothing quite like being part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what being a part of a team is about. And just, really, those are the two things. And then I think football is so much more than a game. It teaches you so many valuable lessons. And this is something I talk to our guys about all the time. I think, if society could take a hint from football, you have 150 families, because it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's their families, and it's 150 of you, and all different economic backgrounds, races, religions, and you come together as a family, you love each other, and you respect each other. And as you know, playing it, it's not always, everyone doesn't always get along, but you love each other, you respect each other, and you go out and you compete for all for the same cause. And like I said, I think society could take a cue from a football program. And that's another thing that's really I'm passionate about, is just it can give people an opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have had without football. And that's something that something I love.
Coach, you've coached at the high school level, the post-grad prep level, all of which that has kind of molded who you are today as a head coach. How did those two experiences, which are unique, because a lot of guys jump right into college football, you went a different route. How did those two experiences help you for what you're facing now as Wagner's head coach?
I think the as many levels as you can coach at, I think it's a positive. I obviously got hurt playing, and I knew I wanted to coach, and I knew in order to get involved in college coaching, I had to start at the high school level. That's just what was going to happen. I had to do whatever I had to do, and I was lucky enough to go back home and finish out my education at Binghamton University. And as I did that, my high school football coach, Coach Houghtaling, gave me an opportunity to come in and work with all different positions. I worked with the offensive line, I worked with the D-line, I worked with the linebackers. So I think the high school part of it introduced me to every different position on the field, really. And it gave me an opportunity to understand the teaching and the fundamentals of different positions, which I think is key. It also prepared me as a teacher. Football coaching is really teaching. And people say, well, the kids love the game. They don't always love a subject that they're taking. Well, they don't love the game at 6 a.m. in a meeting room. They don't love it then, unless you're doing a good enough job as a teacher of making sure the material is getting across to everybody in the room. And I think that's what the opportunity at the high school level really helped me develop as a teacher and a coach. Obviously, it's the same thing in my mind. And then also gave me a chance to work with every position on the field, and just figure out how the locker room works, how everything works from a coach's standpoint. Because as a player, you think but you have no idea. And that's the thing. We've had some players here become coaches, and you get through that first week of camp, and they're like, man, we didn't know it was this hard, but as far as the high school job went, I can't thank those people at Windsor High School enough. I love it there. I have a lot of pride in my hometown and where I'm from, and they gave me an opportunity to come in and learn how to be a football coach. From there, I graduated from Binghamton University. I had a history degree with no education certification, and so I started applying to all these prep schools, and said, okay, maybe if I'm a teacher and a coach at the high school level, I'll be able to become a GA, and that was my thought process. And I actually flew across the country to Medford, Oregon, and interviewed for a job out there. My wife was my girlfriend at that point. She was, what are you doing? You're going all the way across the country, and I guess that's how badly I wanted to be a coach. And so I interviewed for a head job out there at a small private school in Medford. And on the plane ride back to Binghamton, I got a call from Art Regis, who was a high school coach in the Binghamton area when I was a player, and he knew I was looking for a job kind of at the next level, or to be a head coach or something. And he had just been hired at Milford Academy, and he threw my name out there to Bill Chaplik, the head coach at Milford, and Next thing you know, I got a phone call that next day after I got back from Medford, and Coach Chaplick said, "Hey, why don't you come up and we'll talk it through, and I'll show you what kind of opportunity this is." So walked into Milford, and there was pictures all over all the walls of all their great players. They had so many Division I kids come through there. And once he got done telling me exactly what it was about, I accepted a position there, just because I knew it would put me in front of a lot of college coaches and give me a chance to maybe become a GA after that. So my experience with Milford was awesome. Coached a lot of great players. That first team, we had, I think, 6 NFL kids on the first team. I was the defensive coordinator, and my one defensive tackle was Antonio Dixon, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles for 4 years, and this was 2004, I guess. And the D tackle next to him was Terrence Knighton, who pot roast, exactly. And so it was kind of easy to coach those guys. but when I was there, I got to learn a lot from kids from different areas of the country. Here I was from Windsor, New York, a one stoplight town, not even a full stoplight. It was just a blinking yellow. And I'm from there. And next thing you know, I'm living in the building with guys from Miami, guys from Connecticut, guys from California, and getting to know those kids. And it was just an unbelievable experience. And then you put the social side of it, just getting to understand people from different races, religions, economic backgrounds. Combine that with the football I was able to learn, and calling defenses. And it was 2 great years. It really was. It was 2 unbelievable years and I'm thankful every day for my time at Milford Academy, that's for sure.
You touched on something with the last question. You were a former defensive lineman, yet you cut your teeth in college coaching as an offensive line coach, offensive coordinator. Now, did playing defense help give you a better perspective and make you ultimately a better offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think so. I think whenever or you have an idea what the other guy's trying to do, you can counter that a little easier, I think. And so when I came here from Milford Academy, my idea was that I was going to be the defensive line GA. That's what I was. That's who I was. And I'll never forget Coach Hamline coming in and telling me about 2 weeks before spring ball, he said, "Hey, Hoss, you're going to coach the running backs." Running backs. I hadn't played running back since I hadn't played since 8th grade. I guess you could say I played it a little bit. I was more of a glorified guard in the backfield. But anyway, so as I went into it, it definitely helped me understanding defenses, and when we were trying to run power and the DN's trying to wrong arm it and spill it to the outside or to the safety. Those are all things that I understood on the defensive side of the ball, and it helped the transition to try and understand how to attack it from an offensive standpoint. And then when I made the move from running backs to offensive line in 2007, I thought it really helped. I thought and some of the old linemen at first were kind of upset with me when I said this, but I wanted to create an offensive line that played the game like defensive linemen. There's that stereotype and that idea that the offensive line maybe doesn't play it as hard sometimes, which I completely disagree with. But it gave me a way to say, hey, we want to make sure we're finishing the play. We want to make sure we're running to the football just like a defensive lineman. And I think those were all positives with that first offensive line that we developed here at Wagner. And then as far as pass protection versus run blocking. If I'm a defensive guy, I want to close the distance and get on your body as soon as possible. Well, as an offensive lineman, how's that translate to me coaching the O-line? Well, if it's a pass play, you don't want them on your body. And as far as the run game goes, defensive linemen want to create separation. How's that translate to offensive linemen? We want your nose on his chest and you to pull him into you the whole time so he can't get off you. So the ability to understand both sides of the ball, I think it does help. And I think any young coach who has the chance to work on both sides of the ball, and especially if you've played D-line, coach the O-line a little bit. Be an offensive GA. I think it certainly develops your coaching resume, and I think it helps you understand the game completely.
And it's interesting because you guys, I want to say a couple years ago, had a really good center. And I love the way he played the game. I remember writing it down in my notes because I was at the Alderson Broders game. Okay. I wrote it down. I was like, man, this guy is just flying off the ball. He's turning guys inside and out. He's just owning the line of scrimmage. And I guess I was writing down basically what you're telling me is that he's playing offense like a defensive lineman. He was awesome.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and you try and create in that room more of a fun vibe as opposed to we just go out and do our job. We just go out and do our job as far as the offensive line room goes. Sometimes it can be a little redundant in there. And I want guys who are having fun, flying around, getting off the football, finishing blocks. We want to play with the aggression and the passion of a defensive lineman. And that's back in 07 and 08 and 09, we had a really great group of young guys who developed that camaraderie and developed that almost that swagger as an offensive lineman and as an offensive line unit, excuse me. And the guy you're talking about, Dave Fredrickson, who's actually on our staff, he developed that and he created that, and it helped everybody else on that O-line just develop, again, a swagger, a passion, and aggressiveness that sometimes people don't think an offensive line should play with. And I completely disagree. I think that's how an O-line has to play.
This is your entering your 9th year as a coach here. Your 3rd as a head coach. First year you were 1-10. Understandable because new coach, you have to do the whole rebuild and things like that. Second year you were 6-5, which was just this past season, which is a hell of a turnaround. You don't see turnarounds like that in college football to go from 1-10 to 6-5, a winning record. Yeah. At what point do you feel as though, whether it was a spring, maybe summer workouts, fall camp, did you realize this team was going to be much better than what 2015 was? And what message were you giving those guys to help them believe in themselves?
I think 2015 was just a really tough year for everybody. Coming off of a shared championship in 2014, we had a lot of guys back, so I didn't make a lot of changes. And looking back at it, obviously hindsight being 2020, there was definitely some changes I should have made because at the end of the day, the dynamic was completely different. I had been promoted to the head coach, but we didn't bring another guy in on the staff as far as the full-time coaches go, and the whole dynamic was completely different. So once that happened, I probably should have made some changes and figured some other things out. But I think going into the year of 2015, I thought we have enough talent here. Let's just kind of not screw it up type deal. And then all of a sudden we had some injuries, lost some close games, and it just kind of started to snowball on us. So a lot of lessons learned there, and as the snowball kept building and building, I think as a coach, I didn't do a very good job of pulling back and saying, hey, it's not like we're trying to lose, and I think I probably could have done a couple things different here and there. So at the end of the 2015 season, I sat in there for really 3 straight days, and a lot of self-reflection, a lot of talking with other coaches, and we had to narrow down our philosophy and really give our guys some small things to focus on. And one was I had to figure out some team rules, just not team rules as far as our behavior on campus or anything like that, but just a set of rules that the whole team could look to. And so we came up with be early, no excuses, line up, and play hard. And if we did those 4 things, if we were early to things, if we didn't have any excuses in our back pocket, if we lined up and we played hard, I knew we'd be somewhat successful. And then we continued to develop some things, and we talked about what, when, and how. Do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how it's supposed to be done. So those are some small things that happened, and I really wanted to have more fun. It had been my lifelong dream to be a college football head coach, and I had 0 fun in 2015. Now, obviously, it's about winning and losing. I get it, but it's also about making sure you're developing players and making sure you're putting them in an environment that's fun. There's got to be a little bit of fun, and I actually had a chance in June. I was at June, I guess, of 2016. Now, spring ball went well. We had brought in a new offensive coordinator. I had changed the offense. I knew I wanted to get back to doing some under center, pro style stuff. We had a quarterback battle, a heated one, that went well in the spring. The guys really competed hard against each other. And Coach Skang did a great job with the offense. Defensively, there was a change in the summer, so there was all these things going on. Okay, and my life changed in June when I went and I was able to spend 3 days with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
my best friend in coaching, Keith Carter's the assistant online coach there. He actually came up, did a clinic here for us, and it really brought me back to when I was a young coach and just how much fun you need to have, and kind of reinvigorated me coming off a 1 in 10 year. But anyway, I spent 3 days with them, and sitting in their team meetings, being a part of that atmosphere, and as long as you're not being lazy, have as much fun as you want to have, and that's something that really was completely different. Yeah, obviously, I think we brought in some really good recruits, and it's winning games. The players, you need players to win games. That's the bottom line. And some of the recruits we brought in had tremendous years. So, but as far as just the overall culture of the program, we were going to compete, we were going to play hard, and we were going to have fun. And that's what really changed us, I believe, because if you look at it, we had a 3-game losing streak last season with 2 games to go. And I think a program that doesn't have a good culture goes the other way. They lose the last 2, and next thing you know, we're 4 and 7 as opposed to 6 and 5. But because of the culture that these kids created, and that we kind of put the foundation of how we were going to act as a program, we came out and went out to Robert Morris and had a great showing, and then here against St. Francis had a great showing. And that was really the turning point, I guess. June, when I went down to Atlanta and kind of solidified this is how we're going to run this program. So I'm really thankful to Coach Quinn and his staff for allowing me to be there for those 3 days. But a lot went into the turnaround. It started in December of 2015. And just self-reflection, evaluation, a lot of lessons learned. Each player, I asked them for. I meet with every kid in the program after the season, and every kid asked them, what do you think went wrong? How could we have done things differently? And just gathered as much information as I could. Made some changes on the staff. Made some changes on the roster, and we had a good year. Now we got to go from good to great.
Have you seen, what's the difference you've seen in this point last year from, let's say, winter workouts? Are you seeing a difference because they tasted that piece of success?
Yeah, I think we're hungry. I think we're really hungry. The one thing we make sure we try and tell them is, hey, every team has a 1-year life expectancy. The 2016 team is dead. This is the 2017 team. Now, you don't live in the past, but you learn from the past. And here's the things that kept us from being a great football team in 2016. Finishing. We were in every game other than the 2 1A games. We were 6 and 5 with a loss to Boston College and UMass. So, we were in every other football game. You look at Columbia. We're winning in the 4th quarter. You look at Duquesne. We're winning in the 3rd and had them 21-20 with a 4th and 2 on our 18-yard line. And so just making sure we take those lessons from the past and learn from them. Don't live in the past. This is the 2017 team. I do see some difference as far as the hunger goes. I think they're confident, but they know we have a lot of work to do.
Now, Coach, when you rattled off those teams, your Duquesnes, your Sacred Hearts, Bryant was pretty good this year. It was a tough opponent. The NEC, to me, is probably one of the more underrated, tougher conferences in the FCS. How strong is the NEC?
I think the level of play in this conference has gone through the roof. If you look at our games against other conferences, back when we first went to scholarship, 2006, I think, we couldn't compete with the CAA and all in the Big Sky and all those schools. We couldn't compete with them. And now, as you look at the scores, if we're not winning, we're close to it. And I think just the level of play, the increased scholarships, the commitment to football from the conference, it's had a positive effect on everybody. And it starts with just the talent that we're putting on the field as far as how the recruiting battles that we face. And if you look at Sacred Heart, what they've done, Bryant, like you said, you named them off, Bryant, Duquesne, Robert Morris, from top to bottom. Anybody can win any week in our conference, and we just had our coaches meeting on Wednesday, a couple days ago, and we talked about that. Just where we've gone and the competitiveness of this conference. 2012 we beat Colgate in the first round of the playoffs. And I think those are things that are going to continue to happen as the level of play gets better in this conference. And you look at the commitment by each college or university. Whether it's facilities, whether it's who we're playing. Every school now in the conference is going to play an FBS opponent at some point. Our other non-league games, our FCS opponents. We have Lehigh coming in here next year. We have Stony Brook. So the league has done a complete transformation in 10 years as far as who we're playing and what we're doing. And to top it all off, academically, we're still right near the top of the FCS as far as our conference goes. 3.0 team GPA here, and every other school in the conference is similar. So academically, athletically, just a great place to be, the Northeast Conference.
And I always ask this question to coaches because it's one of my favorite questions. It's about philosophy, because we all do things differently. We all have a different and unique way of going about our business. Whether it's me in the media going about my business one way as opposed to someone else. So what would you say your coaching philosophy is and how you approach this job here at Wagner?
I think my coaching philosophy is just be the best. Be the best version of yourself you can be day in and day out. We talk about that with the team all the time. I'm sure, I know they get annoyed with me hearing me say, be the best version of yourself you can be. Be the best version of yourself you can be. And I'll walk into a meeting room and ask them, why wouldn't you? Why don't you want to be the best version of you for the rest of this day today? We just got done with team run. And at the end of it, I said, be the best version of you can be today. And then I looked at one of the players, I said, why wouldn't you? And they can't give me an answer. So you can't give me an answer. As soon as someone gives me a good answer, I'll listen. But so the philosophy, the foundation is to be the best. And I think in order to be the best version of yourself you can be, you have to be challenged. So we're going to challenge our guys nonstop. We are going to compete every single day. We just handed out T-shirts for the top GPA in each position group. So we're trying to figure out a way to force our guys to compete and challenge themselves as much as possible. I think that's the only way you get better. Is to continue to challenge yourself, and we take that all the way from camp, all the way through the season, through the developmental season, through spring football. And I think it really grew legs, I guess, last year, you could say. When we were in camp, we had an offense versus defense battle every day. Well, there was a winner or loser, and we do it, we chart everything, and whoever wins which practice, and we had some work, some code names for the offense and defense I won't get into, but it was fun. The kids had fun with it, and again, it comes back to making sure we're having as much fun as possible without being lazy. But from a pure coaching philosophy, being the best, challenging yourself, us forcing the challenge on the players, and then just playing really hard. That's the one thing. That's one of the things that in 2015 I didn't think we executed real well, but I don't think that was the issue. I don't think we played real hard, and for whatever reason, they weren't having enough fun off the field, in meetings or whatever. The culture wasn't there for them to go out and play hard. But this year we played extremely hard. Being the best, challenging yourself, but at the end of the day, you need to play harder than the guy across from you, and he got a shot. So those are some things that we talk about all the time. But if I had to take one phrase, be the best version of yourself you could possibly be.
It's interesting nowadays, Coach, when you see, let's take when we both came up. You probably only saw maybe 5 or 6 schools on television. You heard about another 5 or 6, and everything else might have been Europe. Just could have been way out the way. But now everyone has options, So when I started to come up here today, you've seen the 5 boroughs. You listen to the Wu-Tang Clan. You know about Staten Island. Beautiful campus on the hill overlooking the Verrazano Bridge. But why would a student choose Wagner? Why would a student athlete choose Wagner?
I think, one, that's a great question because I get excited talking about Wagner. You look at academically what we have to offer. From the business program to nursing to education. It's a liberal arts school with just a ton of different majors and a roadway to any career possible. Any career that you can imagine that you'd want to be involved in, Wagner can point you in that direction and help you get there. The other thing is, we talk about creating futures. You know, Princeton Review just published the book, The Top 50 Colleges or Universities as far as creating futures goes. Wagner College is in there. So the proof is there that what we do for our kids after graduation is so much better than a lot of other places, you know. And so academically, I think we sell, you know, it sells itself. As far as location. You can sit up over here on a small, you know, you almost feel like you're in a small town when you walk around Wagner's campus. Then you go up to the 10th floor of the dorm, and you look over and you see the Statue of Liberty, and you see the greatest city in the world. And you can be there in 25 minutes by ferry. You don't have to drive, you know, and it's just if you combine the academics and the location and what we can give a kid or offer to a kid after graduation, I don't think there's a better place in the world to be than Wagner College. It sells itself as far as those things go. And then athletically, I think it's you know, it's an exciting time to be here. You're going to play for a coach and a staff that from a work ethic standpoint, no one's going to outwork us, but we're going to have a ton of fun. You know, I believe in passion, I believe in energy, and you know, one of the things, you flip open my computer to start the day and it says do it with passion or don't do it at all. You know, I believe in those things. But as far as the school goes in Wagner, started off with academics. You know, it's one of the top schools in the country from a liberal arts standpoint. And the internship program and all the opportunities that exist in New York City and beyond. And then, like I said, the top 50 schools and universities in the country for creating futures, and we're one of them. So it's a great place to be, and it's an exciting time to be up here on Grimes Hill.
Yeah, you got me excited about this program and the city as a whole. And again, I've seen the steps this program has taken over the last 3 seasons, and I like where you guys are headed. And we wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you for taking time, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
I think the FCS gives a student athlete a chance to really develop in the classroom and on the field. And I don't think there's anything that gets in the way of the development of the student athlete. You know, whereas in sometimes other conferences, other levels of play, I think there's some things that could sway a student athlete in a wrong direction here or there. But I think at the FCS level, I think it's all about the student athlete. I think it's all about his development in the classroom and also on the playing field. And it really it keeps your values and your goals right in front of you. And I think there's less things that are going to take you away from those things.